The hugely acclaimed soprano Kate Royal won the Kathleen Ferrier Award in 2004 when she was just 25. She's worked constantly ever since with lead roles at the English National Opera and at Glyndebourne, and has just released her second solo album, a collection of 20th century operatic arias. It's called Midsummer Night. This is Do Not Utter a Word by Barber.
The days go by unmarked, unheeded. How endless, how lonely, how wrong to roam the beating heart of time and space. It is the hardest test to shatter, harder
She's cringing. Kate, good morning. Is it just because you're sitting here in a freezing cold studio, in a sort of peculiar emotional isolation, listening to that really dramatic stuff?
No, it's just where you chose to cut it in, I think. It was rather a shock, because actually most of the aria is quite calm. That was the sort of, if anyone was feeling slightly sleepy, then I'm sure they're awake now.
There's a link between the various songs you've chosen, isn't there? A kind of a feeling of wild abandon. And
yes.
This link with Midsummer. Yes. So just tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it sort of came about really very, very gradually. I was setting out to find 20th century arias, and I didn't set out with a specific theme initially. And when I found the track, which is actually the first track on the album, Allwyn's aria Midsummer Night, that sort of stuck out for me as a good sort of starting point for the theme. And it's amazing how many of the pieces that I had been attracted to were of this sort of wild sort of abandonment, really, and vulnerability, and yes, a lot of women that are slightly on the edge,
unhinged.
So to speak. Yes,
we all are, aren't we? At one point or another. But it's so brilliant to be you and to be able to let yourself go like that. And I mean, is there a kind of unleashing? Do you feel better afterwards?
Well, there is in a way, but because you're still singing and you still have to follow very rigid rules, technically, you can't be completely relaxed.
It's not jazz, is it?
No, but then even I'm sure jazz singers would say the same. It's all within a structure, and even though the character might be going completely crazy, you as you have to remember that you are not that character, and you are portraying that character, and otherwise the sound would not come out, and it would sound absolutely awful. So
you come across as absolutely your own woman. Were you allowed to put this album together on your own, or were EMI saying, "Oh no, don't put that in because it's too obscure"?
Well, no, I mean actually they were very very free in pretty much letting me do what I wanted. I think that I had a clear idea about how I wanted it to be and come across and be packaged and everything like that. And, certainly there was some bartering that went on in terms of tracks, and there had to be some more popular things on there. But from my point of view, I wanted to Stravinsky and I wanted Barber, and so it was a case of saying, well, I'll do that if I can do that, sort of thing. So
yeah, well, the track we played at the very beginning of the programme is the Dvorak, which I know I absolutely loved that, and when I talked to you earlier, you said it was a bit of a cliche, that it's a very enjoyable cliche.
Well, it's one of the most amazing arias. There's no way of getting away from that. But I suppose the most famous pieces are the ones that singers tend to be quite scared of, and it's much easier in a way to sing more unknown music, and so then you can really feel that you're making it your own, as opposed to being constantly compared to other singers.
Of the arias on this album, how many of these roles have you performed then?
One.
Only one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is the governess, which again was a big sort of starting point for the whole idea of looking at these 20th century heroines. So yeah, I mean the challenge of essentially researching 13 or 14 operas and recording arias that out of context from pieces that you've never actually done is great.
And do you listen to other people doing them?
Not so much. I mean, perhaps I should, but I find it, if you're just learning a piece, it's very important to have your gut instinct on that, your gut feeling. And I think, in a way, listening to many other recordings can can take away from that somehow, and you sort of, without realising it, take on board all those other interpretations. So, of course, I do listen to recordings, but it's not my way of learning how to do something necessarily.
Tell us about this. This is The Trees on the Mountains, Floyd. Now, I hadn't heard of this. What is this?
This is an American opera, but the story is based on the Bible's apocryphal tale of Susanna. But it's by Carlisle Floyd, as you just said, and the opera is, he sort of transported it to Tennessee. And the young girl in this aria, I mean, it's really a folk song, sort of an embellished folk song, really. And she's been turned upon by the village. She's an attractive young girl, and the men sort of all fancy her and the women hate her. And this is an aria where she's alone. Well, she thinks she's alone. She's actually being watched by somebody, but it's again an aria of sort of abandonment, and she's crying out to her lover who's abandoned her, really, and saying, please come back and give my baby a name.
Well, this is The Trees on the Mountains.
Coals on the hearth have turned grey and sere. The blue flame just vanished and left them there like a false-hearted lover, just like my own, who made me love him, then left me alone. Come back, oh summer, come back, oh flame. My heart was roaring, my baby a name. Come back,
Fantastic. Well, I know you can't bear to listen to it, but the Times critic here describes you as having a voice of strong, liquid beauty. When did that first show itself?
Oh, crikey, that's a difficult question. I was always singing, I guess, as a teenager and in school choirs and things like that. And I sang a lot of jazz, a lot of musical theatre, and I didn't find the classical thing till a bit later on. And but when I did discover it, it felt immediately right. And I thought, okay, this is where I belong, and this is where my voice belongs. And so I began training.
But how does that manifest itself? I mean, can you remember what you first sang?
It was Marriage of Figaro.
Right.
My teacher at the time sort of handed me a score and said, okay, just try this, and we'll use some of the arias as an exercise, really, just to sort of learn more about your voice. And I guess the slightly more grounded way of singing appealed to me, and the idea that, you know, there was a long process of training appealed to me as well. So, you know, I trained solidly for 7 years, and I think people have this idea that you wake up one morning and suddenly you're an opera singer, and you know,
Covent Garden.
yeah, absolutely. But you know, years and years of training go into it, because after all, you have to build up a lot of stamina, because you're singing for hours and hours on end, and no microphones, no amplification. So
when you watch Britain's Got Talent, there's no point going there.
I don't want to go there.
No, I mean, but I'm really interested in the fact that your dad was a pop singer.
Yeah.
I mean, how successful was he?
He was successful. He wrote some fantastic songs. I should have brought some on to play, actually, because I'm sure he's listening. But really, you know, it gave us all the idea that you could do whatever you wanted, you know, and if we wanted to perform, that was okay. And so it certainly wasn't the sort of household where we were told we had to be doing sciences and, you know, maths and everything. So,
but when, I mean, presumably he watches you perform.
Yeah.
He must get such a kick out of that, though.
Yeah, he loves it. They both, you know, enjoy it, and it's something that we sort of enjoy together. Often they come abroad with me, and so we kind of discover new places together, and yeah, it's really great.
Now, I know that you travel the world, you have to, because that's sort of the deal, isn't it? But you hate it.
I don't hate it. I mean, it's taken me a long time to get used to it, put it that way, and it wasn't what I imagined. I never realised that there was so much travelling involved, and it's something that sort of no one ever told me during my whole time at college, that you're never ever going to be at home. And so yeah, it's taken a long time to get used to that, but I'm learning to enjoy it a lot more.
You're about to adapt again because you're having a baby in
October. Yes. Yeah.
So have you stopped feeling queasy?
Stopped feeling queasy. I'm feeling great now. So
you look terrific. But I guess that will make. I mean, how much of a difference will that make to your voice? Any?
It's very hard to tell. I mean, singers that I've spoken to that have had children said that it does affect their voice, and I think it sort of can make the voice more rounded and larger a lot of the time. So I don't have a problem with that really. I'm sure that the tiredness has also a very negative impact on the voice as well. So yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see.
Okay, I gather you've been ringing lots of other opera singers with babies.
I have.
Is there a helpline?
There should be. Maybe I'll set one up.
Well, it's been lovely to meet you, Kate, and I know you're performing at the Wigmore Hall on Thursday of this week, so I hope that goes well. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. That was Kate Royal, and her new CD is Midsummer Night, and it's out now, and that concert at the Wigmore Hall in London on the 7th of May. Thank you, Kate.